What's going on, everyone? Here we are. I'm CJ, he's Gilps, and we're back here again recording a video here. Flip it off. So, what's going on?
Not much, man. How was your Christmas?
Yeah, pretty good. I got a new computer here for recording this, so that
Oh, that's a bonus.
not the only thing I got a new computer for. I needed one anyway, but yeah, that's a bonus.
Yeah. Let's dive right into this. What do you got for us this
Yeah,
episode?
so you know what day it is today? It's December 26th. Obviously, Christmas was yesterday.
Yep.
And you know what December 26th means every year, right?
World Juniors, baby.
Yeah. So obviously, we did mention the last time we recorded this, we talked a little bit about it. You know, we had an idea of who some of the players might be for Canada, but
Yep.
now today the tournament's well underway. The first day is finished. Canada's played their first game. Yeah, did you get a chance to watch it today?
No, I didn't actually, but I heard they got the dub.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Canada's team, what everyone's been talking about the past few weeks, the Bob father included,
Yep.
they're not looking quite as good as what we've seen the last 2 years. You know, like we had teams that were really experienced, we had good draft classes and whatnot. This year, you know, it's a more inexperienced team, more young guys. So, you know, we talked about the possibility of Shane Wright
Yep.
being let go. Obviously, that didn't happen. I don't know why. Like he's not really getting much playing time in Seattle.
Yeah, you think they would want him
But
to go back and do
yeah.
something worth his while, right?
Mm-hmm. So the only returning player is Owen Beck from the Peterborough Petes from
Okay.
last year's team.
Yep.
Obviously, he didn't have a huge role on the team last year, but we're expecting him to be one of the better players on the team this year. And to be honest, he actually was considered like the fourth line center when they showed the lines today. But that's one of the strengths of this team. They don't really have a first through fourth line. They're all pretty even, so they're just rolling all the lines kind of the same amount of time. We'll see if it stays that way or if throughout the tournament we see who the superstars are. Obviously, with some NHL experience, we have Matthew Poitras from the Boston Bruins who was let go. So that in the last week there, that was a good bonus.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously some of the other stars we have. I mean, Matthew Savoie, which I swore he was on the team last year.
He wasn't?
No, he wasn't. This is his
Okay.
first time. I don't even know why I know his name because he wasn't never played on the World Junior team any of the last 3 tournaments. You know, like the one that got canceled in 2022,
Right.
the makeup one in the summer last year.
Yeah.
Was not on any of those rosters. Hasn't played in the World Championship. Wasn't in the Memorial Cup either. So I don't know why I feel like I was so familiar with him, but I guess I just know his name because he's been such a great player out in the WHL there. But yeah, either way, so it's his first time, but he'll be a big player. And obviously Macklin Celebrini, who
Heard about that guy.
yeah, obviously he's playing in the NCAA right now, and he's a top ranked draft prospect for next summer's draft, 2024. And we're lucky to have him because of that hit that he had in the pre-tournament game. I think it was the pre-tournament game against the Americans.
Yeah, he dumped a guy in front of the boards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Or maybe actually it was the one against Switzerland that happened.
One of those teams, yeah.
And there was some talk that he might be suspended a few games.
Yes.
But
yeah,
luckily that didn't happen. So
Right,
we're
for sure.
glad to have him. And yeah, I mean, at goalie we have what's his name again? Matisse Russo. I forgot his first name. There. I'm just looking at the roster.
Yeah, we got it in front of us here.
Yeah, he played great today, which I heard that he was passed in the draft twice, similarly to Thomas Milic last year, because of his size mostly. But he had a hell of a game today, a couple of game-saving saves early on when the game was close.
Yeah.
You know, Canada ended up pulling away with that 3-1 lead. Finland pulled the goalie, and then we ended up with the 2 empty netters. But it was a close game for most of it, and he kept us in it. So I am confident that our goaltending won't be an issue either. Now, I was surprised, actually, that Dominic DiVincenzo from the North Bay Battalion was in the conversation. And I thought he would at least be the backup on this team, if not the starter. But he didn't even make the team.
Wow.
So that came as a surprise.
Absolutely.
Because I remember in the OHL playoffs last year, watching him play in that conference final or the conference semifinal against the Barrie Colts, and then the conference final as well against Peterborough, and he was fantastic there. So I thought with his name in the running that he would be on this team, but it looks like they're good either way with Russo. Now, another guy who I want to mention was Jagger Firkus,
Yeah.
because Craig Button was talking about him like as if he was going to be a great player on this team. He's also projected to go high in this year's draft, playing for the Moose Jaw Warriors,
Okay.
and he didn't even make the team.
Wow.
And we had a couple guys injured, and he wasn't even one of the replacements that was added.
That's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, so it surprised a lot of people, and you're not really sure what direction they're going with that. But um, however, his teammate Braden Yeager, funny, one guy's named Jagger, the other guy's Yeager, but
Yeah.
his teammate made it, and he's also projected to be a great player on this team. So there's a lot of names that could stand out. We'll see what ends up happening, but I mean, as for the tournament itself, like we said, the team doesn't have the same depth as they did last year in terms of their experience and age, but we're still hoping that they can make a run at the gold, if not at least finish with a silver or bronze, right?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, what's your honest thoughts on this team? Do you think they can three-peat?
They can for sure.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of if they will,
Yeah.
because in 2014 they were in a similar situation. It was a relatively inexperienced team. McDavid was there as a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Ekblad as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And like all these guys were great prospects. They had potential, but the experience just wasn't there. The team ended up coming fourth, not winning a medal.
Yeah.
But then the next year, 2015, that was one of the best World Junior teams ever, because all these guys came back the next year for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it could be like that, or hopefully it could be like 2006, which I don't really remember anything about that tournament, but I remember James Duffy talking about that as an example. They had a very similar team.
Yep.
And they did end up winning gold. That was right in the middle of their 5-year streak.
I forget what year it was when Domi, Duclair, and all the guys.
Yeah, that was the 15 team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great team and a great.
Yeah. So maybe if this year doesn't go well, there's optimism for next year. But it's just the fact that we've won 2 golds in a row with all that momentum. Same thing in 2006. They'd won a couple in a row. Right. I mean, maybe they'd won 1 in a row, maybe 2. I don't know. But
Right.
yeah, like at the end of the day, they were in the middle of a streak. With that team, they were able to keep it alive. So
Yeah.
I just feel like having won 2 golds in a row, it's hard to count Canada out.
Yeah, they're there to compete, right?
Yeah, so they very well do have a shot at winning a gold medal, like a good shot. Probably the second best odds in the tournament, I would say. And if they don't win gold, I think for sure they have to win a silver or a bronze. I'd be shocked if they don't win a medal. I mean, you can say that any year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You could be the favorite to win and never win a medal, right?
Yeah,
so
it can happen, and even if Canada doesn't send the best team, there's always a favorite to win a medal, no matter who's out there, right?
That's right.
Yeah. But the team I'm worried about though this year is the U.S., and that's why I said I think we have the second best shot at winning gold.
Yeah, you're saying they're looking pretty good, eh?
The U.S. They have Logan Cooley, the Arizona Coyotes prospect. He was there last year. He was one of the best players in the tournament last year, and there was talk that he wouldn't get sent back, but he did.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also Jimmy Snuggerud, one of
Okay.
the best hockey names ever. Sounds like a goon from the 1970s, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was also a top scorer on last year's team, and he's back. And Cutter Gauthier, the forward as well.
Right.
That's kind of their top 3. So, the Americans, obviously, they lost to us in the semifinal last year, ultimately won the bronze, but they have a lot of the same players back, and they're really dangerous. So
yeah, if we see a Canada-U.S. final, U.S. is gonna want redemption, and Canada's gonna want a three-peat, right? So.
And that's the thing, like these two teams, even like I remember last year looking back like 10 years, and it's like surprisingly Canada and the US don't actually play that often in the medal round.
I noticed that, yeah.
And that's because they're often in the same pool, which this year they're not. But last year when they did meet, and this where I was going with that was when they do meet in the medal round, it's often the USA that wins. Even though Canada's done better in the last 10 years, USA often beats them in the medal round when they do play.
Yeah.
Last year, of course, was different. We crushed them in that semifinal.
That's right.
Although I do remember a USA had an early lead in that game.
We just caught fire and went with it. Right?
So, even last year they showed signs that they could beat us. This year they're a better team. So we very well could play them in the semifinal, if not the final. In fact, hopefully the final, because I'd be scared to play them in the semifinal.
Yeah.
But you know what we have to do to avoid playing them in the semifinal is win our group, right?
Absolutely.
We're lucky that we're not in the same pool as them, but we do have Sweden and Finland. So Finland knocked them off today, big regulation win. Then we have Latvia tomorrow,
Okay.
which that should be an easy game.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if Latvia stays in it for too long. And then Germany, they're a very rapidly improving hockey country. Like we saw, silver at the World Championship last
Don't count
year.
them out.
Don't count them out. Hopefully, if Canada just needs to get an early lead and then run with it, there always is a chance that Germany could stick around in a game like that. So you
Yep.
can't count them out at the beginning. You have to play your best. But that being said, I still totally expect Canada to have a regulation win there. Should be relatively easy, 4 or 5 goals, I'd say.
Yeah, give or take.
Yep. And then the first true test of the tournament comes when we play Sweden.
Yeah.
That's going to be a hard game. Sweden on home ice. Sweden, even though, the last 10 years as well, they've been one of the best teams in this tournament. More than that, actually. They had that streak of like 50 preliminary round wins in a row going back to 2008.
Yeah,
and what do they have to show for it? 1 gold in that time.
Yeah,
they have, true. And it's a very big tournament in that country too, just like Canada. So there's a lot of pressure on these guys.
Oh, for sure.
So, Sweden on home ice looking to break their gold medal drought. I think, they're the next most dangerous team after the U.S.
Yeah.
So
I can't agree more.
I think it's important. It doesn't need to be a regulation win, permitting that we win all the other games in regulation. We just need to beat Sweden, whether it be in overtime. And that sets us up great because then that way, assuming the Americans will win their pool, there's no reason for them not to.
Right.
Then we're going to not have to face the U.S. in the semifinal. We'll probably play at Czechia or Slovakia. And then that way, it sets us up for an easier path to the gold medal game where we would likely play the U.S.
That's right.
So
then you get your popcorn ready for that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You bet, just like last year.
Yeah.
But now as for Czechia, obviously the silver medalist from last year, last year was a big year for them. But being a relatively small country, they are a great hockey country, but they're one of those countries, they won't necessarily put out a great team every year.
Right.
Last year was like their top team in the past decade. This year, from what it seems, they're not going to be quite as good. Obviously, you can't count them out. They're still a dangerous team if we play them in a quarterfinal. But today, Slovakia beat them 6-2.
Wow.
Which was surprising.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if it's so much that Czechia is bad this year as much as it's probably Slovakia has sent a very good team this year.
Yeah.
Because they're another country, more often than not, they're one of the weaker teams. But when Slovakia puts out a good team at any level, they can compete with anyone.
That's right. You cannot count them out.
So to be honest, in that pool, obviously with the U.S. being the favorite, I think Slovakia is the team that I'm next most afraid of.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't actually know any of their players, but I'm sure we'll learn their names sooner or later if they win. If they win some more games. So.
Yeah, and you go with it, right?
Yeah. So obviously it's going to be a great tournament. It's well underway, and I think that's that. Any more thoughts on the World Juniors?
No, I think we covered everything for that topic.
Yeah, I think just about. Well, anyway, that's not the only thing that's happened since we were last here. It was early December, right?
Right.
Shohei Ohtani had not signed a contract yet. Juan Soto was not traded yet.
Yeah.
All those guys, and not to mention Kevin Kiermaier was not signed yet, which the news coming out just today is that he's back.
Yeah.
How about that?
Pretty happy with it, not gonna lie, but they can still get more outfielders that have more experience and can bring a lot more to the team as well,
Yeah.
The team better, right?
And that's kind of what I'm afraid of. It's like you bring back Kiermaier. That means Varsho is probably going to stay in left field for the most part.
Yep.
But then, I'd say we've still got enough space in right field that we can bring in a Bellinger, or as I've mentioned last time, Teoscar Hernandez. I still strongly think that it would be good to get him, get him back here, I should say. It's not his first stint with the team. So,
right.
And yeah, it's again like trying to bring back some of that offense that we lost. He's one of the pieces that we lost, and he wants to be here. So seems like it would make sense. Yeah. But obviously, we mentioned since they're going all in, it seemed like on Ohtani and even Soto, it's like, boy, would it be nice if we could get one of them.
And we didn't get any.
We got neither of them.
Yeah.
But You know what? At the end of the day, though, there is still some moves that can be made, like a Hernandez, like a Bellinger.
Jock Peterson.
Yeah, him as well. And then the third base situation as well.
Yeah, that's a good one to talk about.
Yeah, so there are still some moves that can be made, looking at third base, possibly, maybe even second base. Obviously we assume Witt's not coming back, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just surprised about Kiermaier because, like we discussed last time, it
Yeah.
seemed like as if he was not coming back. But
He's back.
I guess probably he wasn't really getting what he wanted from the other teams, and he figured, you know what, like I guess
Love it here.
he doesn't like playing on the turf, but at the same time, if you're not going to play me every day, which you don't need to with Varsho, then why not?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
can bring that offensive bat when needed and have the
Great
defense on my
outfield
own
defense.
field. Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt about it.
For sure.
So yeah. Anyway, obviously we can talk a little bit more about Ohtani maybe since it was
Yep.
couple of weeks ago was all we could talk about. But when it came down to it, the Blue Jays were the runner up to the Dodgers as the favorites. And then next thing we know, we start hearing from some credible sources that the Blue Jays are now the favorites. They're now the front runners.
Yeah.
Were you buying into that?
No. And I'll tell you why. Because Ohtani, it made a lot of sense for him to come here. But are you really going to pay a guy $700 million, which the Jays did offer him the same contract, but he decided to go with the Dodgers? You're going to pay a guy $700 million. He's had Tommy John surgery once. Needs another one for this year, and you're going to pay him $700 million to hit a baseball.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Is it really worth it in the long run?
Well, actually, to be honest, I think the Blue Jays offered him $600 million.
Oh, okay.
Which that was part of the deciding factor.
Yeah, and they weren't far off, but
not at all.
At the same point, is he is he worth it? Is he gonna get injured halfway through his contract?
And we don't know if he's gonna pitch. I mean, we know he's not gonna pitch next year, but we don't really know after he has his next Tommy John, or he's already had it, but after he recovers, what his future as a pitcher really looks like.
That's right. And a lot of people don't see that. They're like, oh, he's one of the best players in the world, which he is. I'm not saying he's not. It's just, is he worth the money and the risk? Yeah,
okay. And I mean, I was just as shocked as you were. As it seemed more and more likely that this is a legit possibility, all of a sudden now we're the favorites. And then that Friday came along, December 8th, right?
Yeah.
Or was it the next week?
Yeah.
I think it was December 8th.
Around that time, yeah.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, it seems like the Blue Jays are the favorites. Some credible sources are telling us that he's gonna sign with the Blue Jays by this weekend. Then we start hearing Kikuchi booked a sushi restaurant in Toronto.
And that
didn't even happen.
I know, and that's another thing I never believed.
People have to know where their stuff is coming from before they spread it.
Yeah,
but
it's crazy.
At the same time, then John Morosi, I guess, tweets out, which it wasn't just him. Major League Baseball's Instagram account reported that he was on his way to Toronto. John Morosi, a credible insider, reported this. It was all over the place. And it seemed it was a done deal. I was watching all the sports news that day. Okay, when is it gonna happen? It seems like people are tracking the jet. And then all of a sudden there's a 180. People are saying, no, he's not on his way to Toronto. He's still in Southern California. It was just pure chaos. Because we don't know who to believe.
That's right.
Yeah, because this stuff's all over the place. And obviously Morosi is a credible insider normally, which, you know what? Obviously, a lot of people are mad at Ohtani because of this, which, he signed with the team that he wanted to sign with. That was his decision. We don't know how close he came to signing with the Blue Jays.
Obviously, you can't fault him either, right?
He wasn't on his way to Toronto. But you know what? Obviously, we do know the Blue Jays did come very close to signing him, and he signed somewhere else. So I'd say the fans have the right to boo him when he comes to town.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if he hits 3 home runs on you're missing that here.
So I think right away, nobody was necessarily mad at Ohtani, more so at John Morosi, because he's the one that made it seem like this was going to happen.
Yeah. You can't fault the guy. At the end of the day, it's his decision where he wants to play.
Yeah. But as much as you want to blame Morosi and think that it's ridiculous that he would say this, he should lose his job, all that stuff. Johnny from the Gate 14 podcast, did you see what he had to say?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it was in the heat of the moment, but he said John Morosi should be sent to a maximum security prison for 15 years and should not be allowed to touch a cell phone.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Release an actual criminal to make room for him?
Yeah, seriously.
No, that's taking it too far, though, because you know what? he's doing his job, and he shared this information because somebody who he trusted told him that.
Yeah.
So somebody lied. And what it probably was, somebody at Ohtani's agency probably told him that he was on his way to Toronto to likely sign with the Blue Jays, just so that the news would spread, and that's what forced the Dodgers to offer him that extra 100 million.
Yeah,
That's what it
conspiracy
was.
theory. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of them, like this. So Robert Herjavec, the guy from Dragon's Den, who was actually on that private jet,
Yeah.
he's apparently represented by the same agency as Ohtani. So people are saying the agency set it all up so that he was on that plane flying on that day. It was just a coincidence. I mean,
Yeah.
I read the story about it, and he said, yeah, like he'd just gotten back from Australia. His wife was they were at a funeral. His wife was still there, and they were just flying back to Toronto. He said it was one of the rare times he wasn't following the news. And then yeah, it lands in Toronto, and a bunch of media outlets are all over the place, and the the customs guys get on the plane and ask him where Ohtani is.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Otani's not on this plane.
He's in LA.
So he's like, I'll sign that contract if you want me to.
Yeah.
So, and I guess he also had a sushi date with Yusei Kikuchi that night.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
You never know.
But yeah, it was kind of funny how that all lined up. And you know what? Like, it goes to show, like, the news from Morosi was from a credible source, not true. Yeah. But people tracking that plane, like, the people that discovered that flight and started tracking it were not insiders. These were just people on the internet who were airplane nerds.
Yeah, and I know Jamie Campbell's good friends, and they talk during the regular season. Maybe we'll see him give a shot at Morosi for that.
Yeah, that'll be funny.
Yeah, I thought you said he was coming here when he never did.
Yeah. So yeah, there's all kinds of theories, but I think there's no doubt that the fact that he, maybe whether he was close to signing with the Blue Jays or not, he did consider it. The Blue Jays were definitely one of the teams on his radar. Yep. And that is probably what forced the Dodgers to pay him that extra $100 million.
Now they're in debt for how many years?
Yeah, and you know what? That contract. What do you think of the deferrals?
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I mean it's good. I mean his reasoning for it is that while he's there, the team can afford to have other players because he's only making $2 million per year.
Yeah.
And he's actually taking a sacrifice because, you know, with inflation and stuff, that money's not going to be worth as much by the time he actually gets it.
That's very true as well.
But at the same time, it's like the Dodgers are going to owe him $680 million when his contract ends. So basically, they're investing their entire, like the next 10 years of their franchise are invested in Ohtani, and they live and die with him.
Yeah.
Because as soon as Ohtani's contract ends, they need to let go of a whole bunch of salary and probably start a rebuild.
Yeah, it's
so they're committing a lot more than just that money into him. They're committing like the next 10 years of their franchise.
Absolutely.
And they're committing to a full rebuild when it's time for him to leave.
Yeah, and then they're not going to be a contender then, most likely, right?
So I'm surprised. I mean, I guess that if it wasn't that, then maybe they would have needed to pay him more money. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because that's what he wanted.
I think with all these sports athletes, like especially in baseball and football and some other sports, they get paid way too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get you're good, but like, you're gonna pay a guy $700 million to hit baseball and throw a baseball. Like, that's just ridiculous to me.
And I mean, that's why people are complaining that there really should be a salary cap, at least a soft cap. I mean, and I like how in baseball there's no salary cap because it lets the teams that make money, they can actually be the best. Like,
but if you look at like back in the day when all these other great athletes in the MLB, what were they making? Nothing near this.
Exactly.
So where does their recognition go?
But the way I see it, it's just like if our franchise is much more successful than yours, then it's like, oh, to be fair though, you can't pay your players more than that team can. Yeah, and it's like, well, then what's the point in being a successful franchise if we can't actually use the money we make?
Yeah.
But then again, I'm starting to wonder maybe going in the direction of a soft cap, like what the NBA has, is the right thing to do.
I would think so. If they're not going to do
a cap, but it's not like in the NHL where going over the cap is frowned upon. You're allowed to go over it. It's just that you have to pay an extra tax. Yeah. So you have to pay more money, which if you're a team with a ton of money, you can afford that.
Yeah.
Pay your players whatever they want so that you can have a better team. You know, even if it's way over the salary cap, pay the luxury tax, but you're a rich franchise, you can afford that too. And the money they pay in the luxury tax is distributed to the teams that are their entire payroll is under the cap. Yeah. So that to be fair, it gives them more money.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a great system, and that's really what the NHL should do. And I'm starting to wonder maybe that's actually better than having no cap at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's one direction to go.
absolutely.
Obviously, you know, with Major League Baseball declining in popularity, even to this day, especially with the younger demographics, you know,
Yep.
it's something to consider if they want to.
For sure.
You know, it's better than changing the rules and messing with the game.
Yeah, I agree on that part.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you know what? Actually, there is no denying, though, that all this exposure Ohtani was getting really all around the world, the whole sports world. Like, this is one of the biggest athlete contracts of all time.
Yeah.
That's probably good for baseball overall, just getting all this attention.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of sports fans in the US and in Canada don't actually care that much about baseball, but this was such a big story. Yeah. This was such a big story, though, that it definitely got a lot of people talking, and hopefully that's good for the game.
Absolutely. For sure.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you know, the off season, there's still a lot left. I was gonna say it does seem like the Blue Jays off season is already a failure, but that's okay. We just had high expectations with Ohtani and Soto.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? Obviously, there's still more that can be done, and hopefully they can improve the team.
Yep.
And yeah, on that note, we'll see how the rest of the off season goes. But how about the Leafs?
Yeah. I think their record is a lot better than we thought it would be.
They're playing a lot better than they were a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Here. Because people were still at the time saying that they're underperforming. But you know what? Looking back at then, based on how they played now, they've low-key been one of the best teams in the NHL for the past month.
And give them credit for that.
Yeah, I know they're coming off 2 straight losses now, but
yeah.
Overall, though, they're playing very well. I guess the goaltending situation is a little questionable with Wall out, but
yeah, for sure.
Jones has done a great job, huh?
Absolutely, huge pickup.
Yeah,
right.
That was great.
Yeah,
and Samsonov. I mean, he's struggling right now.
Yeah,
he wasn't his best earlier in the season, but now when we need him, he's actually struggling. So, I don't know. What do you think they should do with him?
I don't know.
You can't get rid of him, right?
Maybe send him down, bring him back. Like I don't know what
That's what a lot of the analysts are saying.
It's hard to say. What do you do, right?
Right now, his confidence is down, and playing at the NHL level where he's being beaten is not going to help that.
Yeah.
But if you send him down, though, he has to go through waivers, right?
Yeah.
The positive, though, is because he's playing poorly right now and his confidence level's low, all that stuff. If you put him on waivers, I'd say it's unlikely that anyone would pick him up, right?
I would agree.
Yeah. So you know what? I think it might be worth a shot to do that.
Yeah.
Because Wall is out until about February, right?
Oh wow, it's not long.
Yeah, like Jones might be able to be the number 1 goalie in the meantime, but then who do we have after him, right?
That's the question.
So if they can get Samsonov maybe a few games in the AHL to get his confidence back and bring him back, that's a pretty good tandem with him and Jones.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously, with more news there, I mean, Klingberg is out for the season. I know. We mentioned that he might be last time, but now he is officially out.
Yeah.
But no, other than that, though, I mean, hey, talk about the Leafs prospects, Cowan and Minton, the World Junior team.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the defense has been a lot better lately with Connor Timmins back, Jake McCabe, Riley's playing pretty well.
Yeah, those guys have really stepped up.
Yeah, I think I'm not worried about the Leafs at all. They just need to get into the playoffs and then take it from there.
That's right.
And on that note, maybe take a few minutes to talk about the Buffalo Bills as well.
Go ahead.
Because I know we mentioned that last time.
Yeah.
You know what? They've been playing fantastic now the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Just when it looked like they were going to be a long shot to make the playoffs after they'd lost that game to the Eagles that they played their absolute best.
Yep.
Well, they carried that momentum. They've won 3 games in a row now since then.
Yeah,
They're playing another weak team, the Patriots, next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's the Dolphins, which their season might come down to that game.
Get your popcorn ready, guys.
Yeah, obviously they're 9-6 now, but they could very well get into a wild card spot. But there's so many other teams bunched up with the same record that they might not. But Miami just needs to lose one more game. I know they beat the Cowboys, I believe, but they have another difficult team.
Yeah.
So if they lose that, and assuming the Bills beat the Patriots, I mean, they lost them earlier in the year, but yeah, it could come. Winning the division might be the best route to the playoffs. And if they can play Miami 1 win behind them, they beat them, they tie them in record, and they have the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So that could be, I mean, even if they would get a wild card spot anyway, winning the division gets them a better seed.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm definitely hoping that happens. And
Definitely a team to watch out for.
Yeah, it's just funny because it's like, where the hell was this all season? Now they're at their best. But one of the things, so James Cook, the running back, he's been fantastic. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it's almost worrisome because he's like the number one receiver as well the last few games.
Yeah.
But yeah, earlier in the season, one of the issues is they didn't really have much of a running game at all. So they don't have the same receiver depth that they did last year.
No,
So
that's for sure.
if they cover the main two guys like Diggs and Davis, then, well, there's nobody else to pass to and they can't run, so they do nothing.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, they can run.
Give
and this
guy's
catching the ball too. So if they're covering Diggs, now Cook is an option.
That's right.
So
there you go.
Whatever. They're playing their absolute best right now, and hopefully they can keep that rolling.
And they go on a run.
Yep.
There you go.
Anyway, on that note, I think we're just about ready to wrap it up.
Yeah.
But, I just thought I might ask you about the Raptors first.
Yeah.
What do you think of their play lately?
A little disappointed. But I don't think I'm the first one to say that.
No. I mean, obviously with a new coach,
yeah.
I think it's too early to blame him for anything.
Right.
We expected the team to be better, but
yeah,
at the end of the day, maybe they're just not as good as we thought they were.
Yeah.
Who knows? Let's just say this, though. Last year, it was the same. They were coming off like a 5th place finish the year before, went out in the first round. We were expecting them to maybe improve. Then they went on that horrible losing streak right around December into January. And then the rest of the season, they played well. They went 500, then lost in the play-in series. This year, has it not been a mirror image? They started off okay. And how have they played in December?
Not up to not up to expectations at all.
Not good at all.
That is perfect.
So that's a team in the next few weeks, I'd say. Like, if this continues, maybe they consider trading a couple of their bigger name
You'll
players.
see a lot of things happening in the next few weeks if they don't start winning.
If they turn it around, then maybe it's worth sticking with it. But I know Siakam, there's a lot of talk. Huh?
Yeah.
Trent Jr., there's always trade talk about him.
Yeah, I don't think you want to get rid of Siakam.
I agree. That's a guy I'd keep. GTJ, though.
You could trade GTJ for a certain player that Messiah wants on the team to help get their confidence back, but you're not getting rid of Siakam. You trade him, you'll regret it.
And maybe Precious Achua as well. That's a guy that I wouldn't mind if they traded.
Yeah, bring Kalo back.
Yeah. Hey, that's not a bad idea.
He's got that veteran approach.
Yep.
On the team, on the court, usually won a championship with us. Yeah, maybe he'll bring some spark, but hey, you never know.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, so that's that. That's a team. I guess we'll just see what happens in the next few weeks. They could go one direction or they could go the other.
That's right.
But on that note, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap things up here for another week?
I think we've covered everything. So I hope everybody's enjoyed our Boxing Day special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holiday season. It's the best time of the year.
That's right.
Yep. Keep enjoying it. Watch the World Juniors and go Canada.
Yep. Till next time.
All right.